And in the big build-up to tomorrow's Iowa caucus, we keep hearing the key to winning is a ground game. But what does that mean? On the Record's Griff Jenkins takes you inside the ground game operations of Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Marco Rubio. Griff?
Greta, the ground game means making a personal connection, giving these voters every reason to caucus for their candidate. It made all the difference in 2008 with Huckabee. It made all the difference for Santorum in 2012. So who has the best ground game? Knocking on doors, making phone calls, reaching social media? Well, here we take a look at Senator Ted Cruz's game. Take a look.
We have over 10,000 volunteers here in the state of Iowa. We also have strike force members that have come in from all over the country. They're staying at Camp Cruz here in the Des Moines area, and they're making phone calls. They're knocking on doors. We're knocking on upwards of 2,000 doors a day. We're making roughly 20,000 calls a day. We've identified precinct captains and co-captains all over the state, and those captains and co-captains, as we speak, are making calls to the Cruz-identified voters in their precinct, encouraging them to come out and letting them know that they're looking forward to seeing them tomorrow night at the caucus.
This is Camp Cruz, a makeshift dormitory. You can see the Cruz, the American flag, the signs everywhere. It houses upwards of 100 volunteers currently. Upwards of 1,000 have come and gone since they opened their doors in December, and it's all run by one very energetic volunteer named Ken Brolin.
I mean, coming here, having people that have a heart for God, will do anything for their families, and have a heart for this country. Put these people in the same building. You know, I keep calling it conservative heaven for me. I have the privilege of telling them what I know we're doing, and please, 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 let's go do it. You know, because they're not employees; they're volunteers on their own time.
So we've been to South Carolina and Oklahoma, and of course up here 3 times.
And so they're getting ready to go out and knock on some doors from 9 a.m. until they can't do it anymore.
We have done a lot of research on voters, specific individual voters, so that when our folks make those phone calls or when they knock on that door, they have a really good idea of who they're talking to. And with a full spectrum conservative like Ted Cruz, if we know what motivates the voter to be a conservative and to be involved in the process, we can start there when we make the introduction. We're giving them lists of people to call and to door knock who actually are in alignment with us and are inclined to be supporters. We feel confident that we put together the team and the strategy and that we're executing in a way that will help us to be very successful tomorrow night.
But the Cruz campaign isn't the only game in town. The Rubio campaign are pounding the pavement and ringing the phones as well. Take a look.
I think our ground game is incredibly strong coming into the end. We've really picked up a lot of momentum in the last couple of days, especially after Marco's strong performance at the Fox debate on Thursday night. We've got hundreds of kids, hundreds of people from around the country that have come here to Iowa to help elect Marco president, knocking on doors, making phone calls, making sure that all of our supporters get out to the caucuses on Monday night.
Senator, you're making phone calls. How's it going?
Well, it's going great. There's a lot of enthusiasm, and look behind me, and all of these mostly young people who are very excited and enthused about a new generation of leadership for our country. I learned a new word today, Marco Momentum, and we think there's a lot of real momentum out there for Marco Rubio. There's an awful lot of people working door to door. There's a real buzz, and I think that means a lot in these last days.
A critical part of any ground game is, of course, the phone banks, particularly in these last few days and hours, trying to get people, Senator Rubio's volunteers. How many phone calls you made?
About 10,000.
10,000? How's it going? What are people saying?
It's going great. Still a lot of undecideds, but people are undecided between, a lot of them are Senator Rubio and Senator Cruz, so we're feeling very confident.
Ted Cruz has arguably the strongest ground game in the history of Iowa politics. He claims to have 12,000 volunteers. What we have is Marco and Marco's message and vision for a 21st century that's an American century. That's what we're really focused on in the final hours, making sure that as many people hear Marco's message as possible.
And just hours away, I suppose on Tuesday we'll find out who had the best ground game. And later in the show, Greta, we will take you to feel the burn. Bernie Sanders closing the gap with Senator Clinton in the polls. We went to a big rally last night, and we'll bring that to you. Greta?
Griff, thank you.